Good morning, everyone. So glad to be talking to you this morning. I trust that you had a great weekend, and another week ahead of us. I'm so glad to be getting back into the swing of things, slowly but surely. Thank God I'm working through my struggles of health, but thank God for it. The nugget of today is really about maturity, the concept of maturity. This has many dimensions. Who can decide whether a person is mature or whether a person is not mature? Nowadays, we see young people, like my daughter at the age of 12, their bodies mature far faster than we could imagine. But emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, do we think that they would be mature? Definitely not. Legally, we believe that if a person who has reached the age of 18 to 21 and beyond, that person has reached maturity. But you know what? Age cannot define maturity. If you ask anybody today, are you mature or are you not mature, the immediate response would be yes. But you know what? You can't actually respond like that with maturity, because maturity is determined actually in the situation that you are in. And so we have to know that the way we act or react defines our level of maturity. We all at some point in time in our relationships, at work, in life in general, we've lost our cool. And then some people would consider you and I not to be mature. And maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, but it's an opinion. So today I want you to consider, how mature are you? As a parent dealing with the frailties of your children, how mature are you dealing with the complexities of your partner? How mature are you spiritually? Are you still very carnal? Emotionally, mentally, psychologically, how mature are you? Now, one hint I want to give you is you can't actually define how mature you are generally. What you have to think about is you have to think about how mature you are in the context of a specific situation. Have you handled it maturely? And the more wins you have in handling situations maturely gives us the indication of how mature you are. And so I believe you can't really say that you're mature or not in a specific dimension, such as spirituality, if you haven't faced a spiritual battle. So I want to encourage you to drive towards self-development and developing yourself. So today our scripture reading is in Hebrews chapter 5, verses 11 to 14. These verses are packaged in this chapter, and quite uniquely so, either to remind us about what we've discussed or to set us up for where we're going to and what we will be discussing. And then he starts off firstly by accusing the brethren of being dull of hearing. That means we're unable to process what we hear, and therefore we have to think about, when we hear things, how do we actually listen to those things? He makes a remarkable statement in verse 12. He says, by now I would have expected you to be teachers, but you're still acting like babies. Let's just pause there a little bit. Does it mean that the author is actually expecting every Christian, as we learn, to become teachers? Exactly. We are expected to become teachers, just like we parents. We haven't been raised as children to remain children. We are raised to become teachers and teach our children. And so spiritually, it's the same thing, that we are meant to grow and develop ourselves so that we can teach others. And then he starts dealing with what he's expecting us to be teachers of. He says we should be teachers of the word of righteousness. Now, what is righteousness? Righteousness is a quality of state that is about being morally correct or justifiable. It can also be considered with the synonym of rightness and being upright. We see that the word righteousness is found in many religions. It's found in the Abrahamic, Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism. You find it across the board. And here it attributes to a person being in right standing with God and being justifiable in what we do. As Christians, we have an advantage that we are justified through the acts of what Jesus has done. This doesn't exonerate us from whether we act rightfully or wrongfully. It just means that we are forgiven and we are justified for having those frailties. So therefore, the author also considers someone who is immature as unskillful. And that's amazing that he considers a person who's immature as unskillful. That means that we have to become skillful in the way that we are. So in verse 14, he actually gives us an indication of what he wants us to be skillful in. He says, be skillful in discerning what is good and what is evil. That's amazing that you have to be skillful. Is it not clear that you would see a ghost, or you would see a devil, or you would clearly see evil? No. He's saying it's not so obvious there, so you must become skillful. And some people have become skillful over practicing. So today I want to encourage you that you need to focus on your development and focus on your maturity and act appropriately within whatever context you find yourself. And then sharpen your discernment concerning good and evil. Discern the intentions of actions rather than the actions itself. Reflection points today that I want you to consider is, have you actually grown up? Men don't always grow up. I've discovered during this lockdown how geekish I am and how many tools and things I have. And so we don't really grow up, but I want to know that we grow up as fathers, we grow up as leaders, we grow up as community contributors. And my question to you is, you need to continue to develop yourself. And then, are we really ought to be teachers, all of us? Yes, we are. And I ask you today, who are you teaching? Are you teaching your siblings? Are you teaching your family? Are you contributing to their development? And then develop the discernment for good and evil. Don't just discern the actions, but discern the intentions. So growing up is really tough, but it's the natural requirement for life. Let's continually focus on our development, whether it be spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, mentally. Let's focus on developing ourselves. Then I want to just ask you today that if you believe this has really, really blessed you, please share with as many people as possible. We also have WhatsApp messages that we send out to family and friends, and I want to encourage you, if you want those messages directly, please don't hesitate to send them to me. You can check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can also check out our website, www.c3lifechanges.com, where you'll find links to our social media platforms. God bless you. ALR out of here. May you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. God bless you.